So now that we discussed the detriments to stress and how that can affect our body and our psychology, it's really important to learn ways of how to regulate stress. And there are two fundamental ways to cope with stress. The first is problem-based coping, in which one tries to manage or alter the problem that is causing the stress. This type of coping is similar to how we deal with everyday problem solving, in which we identify the problem, consider the solutions to the problem, weigh the costs and benefits, and then select an alternative. And problem-based coping is typically in our range of control, so we're more likely to be able to control the situation or control the stressor itself. For example, in Avatar: The Last Airbender or Legend of Korra, the Avatar, which is pictured here, either Aang or Korra, is tasked with being the person who resolves conflict over the entire world, and they constantly have to identify the issue, they have to consider pros and cons, and they have to make a decision that's in their range of perceived control. And the second way to cope with stress is emotion-focused coping, in which one attempts to change or reduce negative emotions associated with stress. This can include avoiding, minimizing, or distancing oneself from the stressor or the issue causing the stress. And this method typically involves appraising the situation by changing the way we react or think about the stressor. This is because when we use emotion-based coping, we are unable to control the situation or control the stressor, and less likely to have perceived control over the stressor. And so all we could do is really manage how we react and respond to the stressor. So for example, in times when the avatar can't fix problems through problem-based coping, they can use emotion-focused coping by meditating, thinking about how they can react to the stressor because it may be outside their perceived control, and think of a different way to reappraise the situation or their stressor. And then I want to talk about perceived control. So when we have higher levels of perceived control, we're more likely to manage our stress better. So when we're able to control our stress and control the situation, we're more likely to be able to manage that stress better. But conversely, if we have lower levels of perceived control, we're less likely to manage our stress better. So when we don't have a control of the situation, we may feel less likely to be able to manage our stress. And this doesn't mean that when we experience lower levels of stress that we aren't able to manage our stress, but we are able to appraise and respond differently to a stressor. And then I want to talk about another way to help cope with stress, which includes social support. This includes receiving support from your family members, receiving social support from your friends, your peers, or other students. This can include your pets, such as a dog or cat. As I mentioned in my welcome video, I have Danger Noodle as my snake for partially social support. And then there's therapists and counselors. We have our MSJC mental health counselors, as you see here. We have the Student Health Center now at MSJC. It might be virtual for this semester, but if you do need guidance, I would suggest getting in contact and accessing those resources that MSJC provides to help with your social support during each semester. And then here are some ways of how to reduce stress. So this can include exercise, even the minimal amount of exercise, such as going for a walk or taking breaks and doing exercise, or yoga, or even just stretching can help reduce stress. Again, like I said, social support, your family, friends, pets, any kind of social support can help reduce stress. Eating well, if you eat more junk food, you're more likely to feel bad. Your physiology is tend to be poorer when you have more junk food, so it's important to eat well. And then meditating, so thinking about and reappraising your stress or your situation can help reduce stress. And make sure you're taking breaks. I tend to take breaks when I'm doing these videos or when I'm grading, and I find that it really helps me. Just taking a small 5-10 minute break between different tasks can help you manage and reduce your stress. There's pets, as I mentioned before, so either your dog or cat or any other pets. Just spending time with your pets and receiving their social support can help as well. Also, reduce your caffeine intake. Caffeine can increase your nerves and increase your anxiety if you have anxiety. So decreasing your amount of caffeine you're taking per day can help reduce your stress. And then lastly, make sure you plan out a schedule if you feel overwhelmed with the amount of classes you're taking or the amount of work you're doing. Write it down and then make a consistent schedule, a week-to-week schedule of how you could manage different assignments or tasks each day, and then check those boxes off so you get a little cortisol and dopamine response in order to physiologically reduce your stress. And if you manage your time better, you're more likely to reduce your stress, especially when you're taking this class and other classes throughout your educational journey. And that's going to be it for our stress chapter. Make sure you read the chapter on stress and do both the text assignment and the learning activity.